And welcome back to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Today we're talking about our December block of the month, and this one is going to be a cute one. Trust me on this. Are you ready to start this project? I certainly am, because I'm anxious to get this finished. I'm definitely going to be making a pillow covering for this block, and I am really looking forward to what it's going to look like when we get done. So let's talk about it just a little bit, and then we'll get started on the basics. This is going to be an EPP design of a wreath, and it's going to use the little honeycomb shape, which is an elongated hexagon. And mine is, let me tell you, I think it's 1 inch. It is a 1 inch, so that means it's 1 inch on all the sides. It's not too big, it's not too small. I think even if you went up to like a 1.5, it's going to be too big for this size square for the backing. But if you wanted to do this with a larger one, that would be really cute too. So let me show you a little bit about the design, and then I've got 2 pieces. I'm going to show you real quickly how to make those. What we're going to do is we're going to be creating some little circles, some little berries to go on our wreath. And we'll probably need about 5 or 6 of those. You could put more, you could put less, you could do a multicolor and column lights, whatever you want to do. That's your choice. And then we're going to make a wreath out of these same little honeycomb shapes, like I'm going to show you. You're going to need 24 of these honeycombs to make this wreath. Now, how do we do it? Well, if you've never done any EPP before, this is a good opportunity to see how it's done. I prefer to work with some little clips. Now, you can either use the little bulldog clips like I use, or you can use the more traditional sewing clips, whichever you prefer. And you're going to take this little piece of fabric, and I've cut it roughly about 1/4 inch bigger than the shape we're using for this EPP. And you'll notice in my piece I put a little hole in it. Sometimes I use that to get the fabric or get the paper out of the fabric after I'm done. We're going to position it in the center, and then we're going to start folding it. And we're going to turn over to make a little crease. Every place there's a turn in our paper. And we want to keep it pretty firm. We want to keep it tight against that paper, but we don't want it so tight that it's going to misshapen the paper. And if you use these papers over and over again, the more times you use it, the more careful you'll have to be. But lots of times they're substantial enough that you can do that many times. Okay, so we've got 6 of these little clips for this one piece because it is like a hexagon. Let me move these out of the way. And then I'm going to use a black thread to show you how I stitch baste this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off 1 clip. Now the longer you leave these clipped, the better they're going to stay in place when you take it off. I've put a knot in the end of my thread, and I'm just using a single thread. And I'm going to come in here, under here, and then I'm going to pull it through. Now our thread is secure. I'm going to hold that tight in place, and then I'm going to come back around again and do that same stitch again. And when I pull it snug, that's going to secure that portion. Okay, now for the next one. Now this is one where the fabric here is really close to the edge, so we're just going to tuck that in just a little bit. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go in on this side, come out on that side. And we're going to pull it through and come around. And we're going to come over that piece we've kind of tucked over. See there? It's going to go over it. All right. Now, if you're going to make these and you're going to quickly put them together and finish this up, that's all you need to do. But if they're going to sit for a while, I would take every second or third turn and put a little knot in it. So somehow put the thread in again, pull the needle through the loop to create a little knot. And that'll hold it just a little more secure. And we're just going to keep going around this the same manner. And for my demonstration today, I'm just going to knot it every other one. Sometimes I do these and I don't knot it except at the very end. And sometimes, depending on the shape, I may knot it like this every other one. So this is one that's going to get a knot. And I just use that same stitch to put the knot in there. Now this is the pointy corner, so we're going to fold it back over, go in under all that fabric, come on the other side. The thread is still coming out on the back of the fabric, on your side of that paper. That way, when we turn it over, we see no stitches. And we've got one more. Let's do that one. Whoops. I think this needle is a little long for this size. Okay, and we've knotted that one. We can clip this thread off. And I think I would clip it just a little bit closer than that. All right, so there we've got it sewn on the back. From the front side you see no threads and it's securely in place. Now you could put this in a box if you're working on a bigger project and store it for some time until you're ready to sew them together, or you can move it directly into sewing it onto your pattern. What I would suggest you do is press this with a little, with a warm iron. You could use a little steam. I wouldn't use a lot of steam. A little steam would be okay. But you want to make sure that you press it and let it sit until it's dry and cool. Okay, the other shape that you're going to need for this project is a little round berry, or you could consider it a light. It's up to you. And what we're doing for that is we're just using a circle. And because I needed so few, I just cut a circle out of some firm scrap paper. So this one was a business card that I didn't need any longer. You could use something like a cereal box, might be a little bit thick. What would be really good would be a flyer that you get in the mail, something advertising a service that someone is trying to sell you, or maybe even some political flyers. You can just cut a little shape out of that and use it. So we're going to put that on our circle of fabric. Now we're making a circle with this one. Again, I put the hole in the middle, and we cut our fabric about 1/4 inch larger than the circle. You want to make sure that you don't get it too big, because we're going to gather this one. And in doing that, you're going to have a lot of fabric on the back. You don't want it too big. It's got to be less than half of this width. So now we're going to take a thread, same thing, it's got a knot on the end, one strand of thread, and we're just going to do a little running stitch around the edge of the circle. Let me get a few in here and I'll show you. You don't want them to be too close together, about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, something like that. The more you're going to need the fabric to draw in, probably the more stitches you're going to need. I can get a few more in. You could do this with starch basting, but it's going to take more effort. And if you can see that, we've got the stitches here along the edge. Now I'm going to just keep going until I got it all the way around. And make sure to keep it close to the edge. We're almost there. So we get a little tangle. You don't want tangles in this, because they'll turn into a knot. Now, one of the important things to know is that you want your thread that you're sewing to come out on the same side as the knot. And you want the last thread coming out very close to the knot. Then we're going to turn this face down, and we're going to put our circle in the middle, hold it down, and then we're just going to pull this to gather all that up so that now we have a nice shape. You may need to adjust that fabric on that circle just a little bit. As long as you're pulling it tight, you've got a nice circle. So then what you need to do is you need to hook this thread with a knot, and we're going to bring it over to where that knot was on our other side. And pull those two together. And then once we've got it snug, then we're going to knot our thread. Okay, and there we go. Then we're going to just press that. Then we can pull our threads out. Let me grab a something to do that with. Got a little screwdriver here. This one's already been pressed, so we're going to pull this one out. And you should be able to get these out. They're a little more difficult because you've got all the sides sewn in, and yet you still have that. Now, I wouldn't recommend taking these out until you're ready to sew them on, because they are going to lose their shape after a while. Okay, so we're going to just put that there. Now, you've got these honeycombs together, and what you're going to want to do is put them together in the shape of a wreath. Let's move our, whoops, this one's still attached. Going off. Put these out of the way. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to lay these pieces around in a circle so that this part of your piece is on the inside of the circle. You see that? So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's going to form the center of your wreath. And what I would do is I would go ahead and sew those 8 together so you have that shape to start with. And then once you have that shape, you're going to sew on the next ring. And that's going to be 1 like this, 2 like this, 2 like this, 2 like this, 2 like this, and so forth on around. So it's going to be 8 in the middle, 16 on the outside. You could choose to use different green fabrics. That's what I had initially thought about doing. So you might have different fabrics. I chose to go all with 1. And you could make it another ring bigger if you wanted to. I thought this was a great size for this 15-inch piece of fabric. So now we have our wreath together. Let's move on to the next step. The next step is going to be putting these little berries or lights onto our wreath. And what does a wreath need? Usually a wreath needs a bow. So I have made a bow out of some little striped fabric. And I did this by taking a piece of fabric and sewing a tube and turning that tube inside out so that I had a strip of fabric that was finished on all sides. And then I top stitched it about a 1/16 inch away from the edges all the way around. Then I folded like this. I think I actually had this backwards. Folded it across as wide as I wanted it to be. And then I fashioned a bow. Now, if you wanted the bow smaller, you could do that. If you've got a better pattern for a bow, by all means use that. It's all about getting that bow there. And then how you wish to actually arrange it, you can decide that. But now we have this nice little wreath with kind of a candy cane bow. We've got these little pieces that we're going to put here to accent it. And I've been playing around with it a little bit to decide how I really wanted it to go. I think we need maybe one, well, I don't know. It gets a little confusing because you don't want too many, but you want enough. Maybe 5 is the right number. Can we see that? And that's going to be our block. And we're going to transfer this. I'm going to put a pin in here to our block. And unfortunately, our block is not ironed. But we're going to do the same thing that we've done before, where we're going to take and find the center of this block. Now we've got the nice center, and we can see exactly what that looks like going in the very center. Now I'm choosing to lift this up and turn it just slightly so that we're slightly higher than center, just slightly, to accommodate our bow. You don't want to get it too far off center, but I think the visual balance there of the big bow with the long tails, you need it just a little bit higher. So what I will do now, and I can see that I've got it in a good place, centering it from side to side because these two folds are coming right in there. I'm going to take a straight pin, there's one right there, and just fasten this in place. This piece here does not have the paper backing in it. That's already been taken out. So from here, what I can do is I can go ahead and start positioning it and getting the pieces out. And the way that I will do that is I will come and take the papers out of the center and stitch the center down to the backing. And then once that is done, it's not going to shift in place. And I can come back and fold it the other way and take the outside pieces out and sew those down and be confident that nothing has shifted out of place. And from there I can sew the berries on and sew the ribbon on. And what I might do with the ribbon is just kind of visually here note where it is, and I might even take this thread with the dark. I might kind of make a little stitch or something to put this in place so I know where it's going to be. I've caught just a little bit of that fabric. And I can just kind of tie that in place so it won't get separated and it has its place saved. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week at the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Bye.